Hi, good morning. We're live here in the CMO Alliance Summit here in London. I'm Michal Lasman, a global marketing leader and CMO Convo podcast host. Very happy and excited to be here with my lovely guest, Rosie. Rosie, good morning. Would you mind sharing a bit about yourself and your background before we dive into the questions?
Sure. Yes. So I'm Rosie. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer at Apex Group, which is a global financial services provider, predominantly servicing asset managers.
Nice, thank you. So, Rosie, you've had years of experience with leadership, and especially when it comes to securing buy in. I would love to know, how do you use measurement to influence the C suite and secure buy in from the different stakeholders, right? Because I think that that is one of the biggest challenges that CMOs often encounter.
Absolutely, and particularly in financial services as well. Being taken seriously in marketing is a challenge in itself, and it's something you have to continually build on. So, I've had the privilege at Apex Group to set up the marketing function, so from the ground up. And the first thing I did was focus on building that demand engine in order to be able to deliver measurable results, because you need to speak the language of your stakeholders. So in financial service, it's numbers, it's revenue, it's the bottom line. So how does the marketing function impact the bottom line? And frankly, 10 years ago, when I first started out in Apex, it really wasn't well understood that we're a revenue generator. It's not like B2C, it's not like e-commerce. So you almost have to do that storytelling piece internally with your stakeholders as well as externally about your brand. So the fundamentals of how do you build revenue and really being able to attribute that to marketing activity. So one of the things that I started out was marketing sourced, marketing influence, the things that most CMOs do. And actually I've moved away from marketing influence because I found that the reception of that was quite flaky, in that unless you can tangibly attribute, you lose credibility. So I think it's depending on the role that you're in, the environment that you're in, and the stakeholders that you're talking to, you have to really drill into what they see as a viable revenue reporting line for marketing. And that's how you build that authority and gain the buy-in.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that it has a lot to do with communications, but then also understanding what the other stakeholders in the C level care about. Yeah, so I think it's a lot about that. Yeah. So, Rosie, I would love to ask you, many organizations are chasing this type of ideal marketing state structure. So when it comes to your approach of designing a team that actually, provide what it takes to have a meaningful marketing and revenue engine, how would you design that? What's your point of view?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I have strong opinions on. I don't think there's an ideal state for a marketing function, and it's something we're going to talk about on our panel later when we talk about change. And I strongly believe that you have to evolve the marketing function for the business that you're in. Just like we just talked about, you have to frame the power of marketing or the influence or the delivery of marketing to the stakeholders that you're speaking to. And I always say to my team, don't tell people what you want to tell them what they want to hear. So every time you do a deck, go through and say, what here am I just proud of that I want to talk about versus what do they actually care about? And it's the same when you're building a function. What do you actually need within this particular organization? Because CMOs may move industry, they may move to a different organization with a founder, CEO, or one that comes from a different background. And you have to think about what that business needs in that moment as well. So we're living in a world that's constantly changing. We've had COVID, that changed everything. We've now got AI. Things are moving at pace. So you need to be adaptable. You need to be resilient, which is we just heard about in the first presentation. And that's how you need to build your team. So flexibility, really looking at what your business needs in that moment. And that doesn't mean changing your team all the time, but having that ability to flex is really important as a CMO.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think that's what you've said about change. At the moment, I feel as if change is the only constant thing in our life, and it's heavily impacting marketing and CMOs and the way that we operate. Also the role of the CMO who is evolving and completely changed the skill set that we need, right? So as you said, it's not just about the measurement, it's a lot about the storytelling, and it's a lot about people skills and understanding what they care about. Yeah, so thank you very much for mentioning that. I really believe in that too. So talking about change, we know that businesses are constantly evolving and it's happening so quickly. How do you decide which parts of marketing in your kind of like model are you going to invest, or how do you create right balance between the different marketing activities?
I think it's a similar answer to the one we just talked about with team. You have to be able to continually optimize what you're doing. So, the days of big, long 2-year planning cycles for marketing and CMO leaders are gone. That, you're planning in sprints, or you may have an annual plan, but you're going to be changing that every year, every quarter. So I think it's important to be able to see where we're at the moment. I talk a lot about kill your darlings. It's something I learned when I was at university in short story writing. And often the thing that you are most excited about, the campaign that you want to invest in a few months or in a few weeks' time, it may change. So I think it's about ruthless prioritization is key. It's about making sure that you can flex with what's moving in the market. And again, going back to what we said and how you translate that story both internally and externally.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Kill your darling. I'm going to adapt it. Is that fine? Yeah. But I will give you the credit. Good. So, what have you learned about bringing teams together, which again comes to, the different talents, different expectations, and different language that different teams can talk, right? So there's like the high level of the C-level, but then there are the people in the teams. How do we bring everyone together to make everything work smoothly or, in a nice collaboration?
I think, again, dependent on the organization that you're in. So one of the things that I think is really, really important, particularly in our organization, we're a private equity owned business. We're very fast paced. It's financial services. So the majority, I would say, of the organization doesn't have a true understanding of what marketing is today. So there's that battle. So from a management perspective, I talk about with my leadership team air cover for the more junior members of the marketing team. Because there's so much pressure, there's so much pace, there's so much to deliver on, and we're a lean team for a very large organization. So when we face off against sales, where there's hundreds of salespeople, and we face off against product, same scenario with CRM. And in marketing, we're a very small team of sort of 45 to 50 people. So we have to be able to leverage technology, not just AI, but automation tools, and empower your team to be able to use those. So where in our current structure, we have kind of senior leadership, we don't really have much of a mid-management layer, so then we have junior employees. So making sure that where you have that pressure coming in, the senior leadership team are providing that air cover, but also building credibility, building capability within the team below you. And I think it's also tapping into the skill sets that you have. So not trying to extract talent out of team members where let's say it's an analytics role and they're really strong in that area. Let's not try to turn them into a storyteller. And I've made that mistake in the past. I've been like, okay, you're managing the data, you should be able to turn that into story. And if that's not their skill set, that's not skill set. So focusing on the things that they can excel in, amplify those, and find areas to broaden other roles where there maybe isn't, because people aren't perfect. Everybody's human. Everybody has their skill set, and some people are specialists, not generalists. So I think it's about acknowledging that in your team, focusing on the things where you can help them excel, and then providing air cover where it's necessary.
Yeah, I love it. 100% agree. Yeah. So we are now in our last question. So I know that you're also involved in sustainability and EEDI initiatives. How do these priorities influence the way you think about change, leadership, which you already mentioned, and building a marketing organization? Yeah.
I'm a big advocate. You see in different companies, the CMOs scope vary. I'm a big believer that you need to include the internal communications and the external marketing arm together, because you need to build that message internally so that your people feel it, breathe it, speak it, so that when a client or a customer or a potential opportunity engages with the business, they feel it too. So I think we talked about purpose. It's kind of gone out of fashion a little bit, unfortunately. AI is the new topic. We always have cyclical trends. But I think it is the responsibility of the CMO to keep that moving, just because it's not the trend, and different changes in administration in different countries have influenced like a bit of a rollback on D&I. It is important that we keep running that through. If it's part of your brand narrative, it's part of your values as a business, it's our responsibility to run that through, both of those things. So keeping that bubbling as well as keeping your revenue going. I always say that the CMO is the biggest multitasker you will find in any organization.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rosie. It's been a pleasure having you with us, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of CMO Combo. For more content like this, check the recommended videos on your screen now. If you enjoyed this episode, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a thing.